All right. I was going to say good morning, but it's not morning anymore, is it, right? Who's still awake? Like just a few people? All right, awesome. Guys, I am so incredibly excited and thankful for everyone who's been around, volunteered, helped. We're having our closing keynote right now. I'm super excited for that. Christian had come last year, and he's a Secret Service guy. I did check if he has his gun. I don't think he does. I could be wrong, but yeah, he has a permit. I think he does. I'm pretty sure if you can guard the president, you're pretty good. Guys, Christian Ebel-Orr, he is presenting on cyber threats and criminal trends. We enjoyed his talk last year. We're excited to hear what he has to update on that. He's a technical special agent and has been with the Secret Service for 21 years. During that time, he's been assigned to the Counter Assault Team, the Presidential Protective Division, Obama Protective Division, and the Indianapolis Field Office. He currently manages the Indianapolis Digital Forensics Lab and the Indiana Cyber Fraud Task Force. So if you guys would give a warm welcome to our closing keynote, Christian.
Thanks. All right. So that's me. My name is Christian Ebel-Orr. All my friends in the office call me Eeyore, like the sad little donkey. I am the technical special agent for the Indianapolis Field Office. Before I started working for the Secret Service, I was a police officer in Bloomington for about 5 years. I started with the Secret Service in the Indianapolis Field Office, was here for about 8.5 years. I did digital forensics for about 6 of that. Then I went to DC, was on the counter assault team. It's like the presidential SWAT team, kind of. Then I was on the presidential protective division, so like sunglasses and earpieces sort of stuff. Then when Obama left office, I left with him and was on his detail for about 1.5 years. And then 6 years ago, roughly, came back to the Indianapolis Field Office, and now, like I said, I manage our digital forensics lab and the cyber fraud task force. Nerd chops, I have my master's in cybersecurity. I am a GIAC certified forensic examiner and information security professional. I have my CEH, and on Monday, I just passed my CISSP, so I am, whoo! This is the only room I will ever be in that people will even know what I'm talking about with that, so I had to throw that one in there. My mom's like, okay, well, the microwave still doesn't work, so. But what really matters about me, I have 2 kids that I love, and I'm a beekeeper. So that's what I do in my spare time. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Secret Service's mission, our fraud losses, and then we're going to go over some of the threats and trends that we're seeing in the criminal arena. I give this speech to, bankers at businesses, and, I am normally not talking to the CISO or the IT folks. Like, a lot of the concepts we're going to be talking about today are going to be, way below what your technical expertise is. But just so you can kind of have a feel for what the criminals are. Well, that was, so the technical aspects of it are going to be kind of dumbed down, but, play along for people at home. All right, so the first question that we normally get is, why is the Secret Service here talking to me about this? Don't you just run next to the limo with the president? We don't run next to the limo anymore, but yes, I mean, that is our primary job. We are a unique law enforcement agency that we have a dual mission, both protection and investigations. We were formed in 1865 by Abraham Lincoln. The story goes that he signed us into existence and then went to Ford's Theater that night and got assassinated. That's not exactly true, but it's pretty close. We were originally formed just to combat counterfeiting. About a third to a half of all of the currency in circulation was counterfeit, so nobody had any faith in financial institutions. So Lincoln created us to try and shore up the financial system, and we've done a pretty good job at that. Then he got assassinated, and then 1901, McKinley got assassinated, and then Congress finally said, we should probably start protecting these guys. So we picked up that mission as well. And we've expanded from there as the landscape of currency has changed. Our statutory authority to investigate that has grown with it. So basically anything that acts like money or is actual money, we can investigate. Wire fraud, bank fraud, check fraud, any, cybersecurities fraud, things like that, we have primary jurisdiction to investigate all of that. We have cyber fraud task forces all around the country, so we partner with other federal agencies and with local law enforcement and private business to, try and prevent and investigate financial frauds. So almost all the statistics we're going to go through over here come from the FBI, the IC3, Internet Crime Complaint Center. This is a place that you can go to report frauds in your businesses. It is mostly a statistical gathering warehouse. They will go through there if there are, large fraud losses, and they'll use that to start, actually opening investigations. But if you have, a statutory requirement or a regulatory requirement to report to law enforcement, reporting to us or reporting to IC3 would fulfill that requirement. So you can see gray is our complaints, red is our losses. You can see in 2020, once all of us started working at home for that year, complaints almost doubled because everyone is just at home clicking on everything all the time. Unfortunately, we haven't had a return to pre-pandemic levels. We're kind of living in this is the new normal, but the loss totals keep climbing. So we're still having roughly the same amount of victims, but the perpetrators are getting better at facilitating their crimes, at ripping people off to a larger extent. Fraud loss totals, investment, BEC, we're going to talk about both of these. Those are the real loss drivers for people. Ransomware is in there as well over on the right-hand side. That is, that total in particular is pretty suspect because a lot of those go unreported, and these are dealing with actual losses from the crimes themselves, as opposed to ransomware being particular on this list, that a lot of times you're having to rebuild your network after that, and those losses aren't built into any of this. So who's getting ripped off in these crimes? This should be, not entirely surprising that the younger people are doing kind of better at this. They're a little more tech savvy, and also they don't have any money to steal. So if I'm gonna go after people and who are going to be a little more willing to click on the links that I send them or to fall prey to my scheme, that's generally gonna be skewing older, and they've had a lifetime of earnings, a lifetime of savings. They are the fat pigs to go after. They are worth my time as a criminal. One of my favorite stories about how it doesn't always, your victims aren't always going to do exactly what you want. There's a common scheme where people will, however they fall into the fraud, the fraudsters are going to want you to buy gift cards and give them the gift card numbers, so then they can go, they're having you help launder the money because there is one more step separated. They can easily, buy their iPad with their Apple gift card, sell that, they can sell it for whatever they get for it is 100% profit for them. So in northern Indiana, there was a gentleman who fell prey to this, was instructed, go buy your Apple gift cards, and he went and did it. He came back, was talking to the person, giving them all the gift card numbers, and the guy is like, none of these numbers work. This is not what I asked you to get me. And he's like, well, I'm looking at the cards right here, and he had bought $1,500 of Applebee's gift cards instead of Apple gift cards. So the fraudster was a little peeved at him, but lots of Jack Daniel's shrimp for our friend. All right, so one of the crimes we're going through here, you guys are obviously familiar with this, ransomware. I'm the bad guy. You're going to click on a link. I'm going to encrypt your entire system and hold your information hostage. You walk in, you have your splash screen of you've been hacked. This one I love. This is obviously old because the ransom is 1 Bitcoin, approximately $291 US. So this morning I think we were like 63.5. So this would have been a good investment to hang on to that one. The fraudsters initially started out with ransomware as we're just locking your system and we're demanding the ransom to have, to unlock it so you can get your information back. Businesses slowed down on paying the ransom, hopefully because they're a little more proactive, they have backups, we don't need the information, we can restore it. So fraudsters have, morphed this scheme into, okay, well, if you don't pay us, now we are going to publicly release your data. And, it can either be embarrassing for the company, when Sony got hacked, all of their internal emails, things like that come out, that's embarrassing for the company. But if you are a regulated business, where you have credit card numbers or PII, they're threatening you with a bigger stick because you may have compliance costs that come along with the release of that information. So, like the charts we've seen and every chart we're going to see, number go up. That's what all of this is going to be. The most commonly attacked industries, these numbers are also going to be, a little suspect because, like I said, not everybody's going to report. Healthcare being down at the bottom, that's not surprising because they're also going to be mandatory reporters in a lot of situations. Their, PII is compromised, they have to report this information. So, for what it's worth, but everyone is obviously susceptible to this. Business email compromise. If ransomware is the, smash and grab, you click on something, I'm encrypting your system. This is much more of the long con. So you click on something, I am getting into your system, and the main thing I'm going to do is install Outlook rules for your email. So every email you get or send, I'm going to forward a copy of it to me. I'm going to delete it from your sent folder, and I'm going to mark the original as unread. So all of your email looks and functions totally normally to you. I'm just getting copies of it. And, this is incredibly popular in manufacturing and the real estate industry because those are going to be large, the largest dollar transactions that any of us are making normally is buying a house. This is what My parents are doing this the day after tomorrow, and it is unbelievable the amount of time that we have spent making sure that this does not happen to them. They're gonna be fine, but I'm still super nervous about it all the time. So I'm reading your emails, and when I see you have my parents have a wire transfer coming up on Monday, on Sunday night, I'm gonna send them a spoofed email that looks like it's coming from the title company or from their realtor, whoever they want to compromise, and say, hey, there's been a change. Here are the new wiring instructions. My parents don't know any better. They wire that money, and then their entire life savings is gone. So this is an extremely lucrative scheme. The financial victim doesn't necessarily have to be the person that's compromised. If the title company is compromised, they can still send spoofed emails to my parents. Like, that would obviously be the ideal situation for the criminals, is that if they compromise my parents through EAC, which is email account compromise, as opposed to the business side of the exploit, if they compromise my parents, they can get my parents' down payment. But if I compromise the title company and all of us are buying a house in the next year, I can get all of our money. So it's much more advantageous for me to try and actually hit the title company. And it's, as with a lot of these, they're going to be an amalgam of several different schemes. I'm gonna try and fish you if you are the all right. There we go. Phishing, obviously going after anybody. Whaling, I'm trying to go after the title company specifically, or CEO impersonation. Then once I've compromised it, I'm pretending to be somebody high up in the business to get you to click on something. This is definitely an integrated business model. There are people that sell their services from all around the world that, like, this is the part that we're really good at. We are really good at crafting the messages. We are really good at getting in and changing the email rules. We are really good at moving your money afterwards. So there are people that sell their services for it. This is a map, in case you don't know where West Africa is, showing that that's where people are that do it. It was before the war in Ukraine, we were doing a lot more, like a lot of the cyber criminal aspect of it, the more tech people working the scheme. That's where we were focusing a lot of our efforts. There were a lot of investigations that led back there. So that dynamic has changed a little bit, but then a lot of the funds end up, at least initially, being siphoned through China and Hong Kong, because they don't, they're not going to respond to our legal process at all. Attack tactics, we are all familiar with these, how people are going to try to impersonate other people. I'm going to, put the real email .realdomain@gmail.com. You're not paying attention. Our brains are pattern solving machines, and if I see what I'm looking for, that's what I'm going to see. I'm expecting to see your name from your domain. As long as I see something that's close, we're good to go. Or then, some of these, the spoofed email ones at the end or in the middle there, we're changing things that are close. Instead of an M, I put the R and N next to each other. It kind of looks like an M, especially when you're looking at it on your phone. So we're registering domains that are close to that. I get these emails all the time from work. I get legitimate emails all the time from work saying that there were undeliverable messages, or that they partition off what they view as the actual garbage spam at work for me is just cut off and thrown away. Those half and half messages where they're not sure, they quarantine them, and then I get an email every day saying, hey, these 7 emails are quarantined, look through them, do you want us to release any of them to you? And then to play super nice, those are the phishing training emails that they send us are designed to look exactly the same as that. So this is one of those this is an actual phishing attack email. Once you click on it, it wants you to log in to confirm who you are. We can see up at the top, this is not actually my work domain. So I'm just giving them my username and password. Now that they're in, they're going to change my rules, like I said, get all of my emails, delete it from my sent, mark the original as unread. So then once I've read your messages and I'm seeing that, okay, we have a closing coming up, then I start sending these messages. Oh, here are the new wiring instructions. We want to avoid a closing delay. I don't have access to my phone. Please just contact me here. With all sort of phishing emails, we're trying to induce that sense of immediacy. Your Netflix account is going to be locked out right away. We're going to return your UPS package in the next 3 hours. That sort of nonsense. This is one that I got from work, and soon, somebody is registering title with 2 T's. My brain just shortens that. Okay, it's the title company. We've all received terribly written spam messages where this is certainly an English as a foreign language exercise. ChatGPT and other AI are just going to sort of clear that out for the criminals. In my poorly written instructions that I type into Google Translate, I can tell, write me an email instructing a receiver to change a bank account to send funds for an invoice for payment. And now I have a very intelligently written, it's still going to sound like it's written by a robot, but it doesn't sound like it's written by a Chinese robot. The same thing where I'm, all right, where I am, I'm changing the payment instructions to go from a wire transfer into crypto. And if you want to play really mean, I don't even have to use OpenAI. If I want to get, people writing scripts for me or whatever, I can go to Worm GPT, Hack GPT, Fraud GPT. Let me switch those out. All right. Yeah, this is, I don't think it was gonna. Yeah, sorry, work blocks a lot of my ports.
It's like you work in cybersecurity.
Yeah, a little bit. And again, as with everything else, number go up, the BEC losses are just going to keep climbing. Once I steal your money, then I have to figure out what to do with it. There's several different tactics for money laundering. Can use unwitting money mules. Unwitting is really in quotes there. These can be people that, I got a job on Craigslist or I got a job on Facebook, and my only job is to receive wires in, and I take a little cut and I send wires out. I am a, customs tax professional, or whatever BS name they want to give me. We get a lot of these people everywhere. Our first course of action with them is we go give them a letter and say, you're being very bad, don't do this anymore, or you're going to get in trouble. That solves the problem a lot of the time. There are people that it doesn't solve it for, and we have charged people and convicted them federally for doing this. Knowing money mules, they're, obviously have their eyes wide open. Western Union, MoneyGram, these are, going to be lower level schemes where I'm just trying to move, thousands of dollars out as opposed to hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars out. If I can purchase actual assets and ship those overseas or then resell them locally, then I've laundered the money and I can use that cash as I wish. Virtual currency, we'll talk about that in a bit. Or I can just use standard cash withdrawals below the reporting threshold. Every transaction over $10,000 triggers a CTR, a currency transaction report in the bank. Those are not by any means automatically fraudulent. If the bank suspects something, they can file an SAR, a suspicious activity report, on a customer, and we review those and see if there's any links or common trends between them. But a CTR does put you in the system, so a lot of times criminals will, I'm gonna do a bunch of $9,900 transactions. That is also illegal. It's called structuring. You're structuring your transactions to avoid those reporting requirements, but it's a little harder to immediately notice unless a bank employee is switched on about it. Money laundering, goes from one person to another person to another person. Cryptocurrency theft, this is, like everything else, just going to keep rising. The fraudsters can leverage crypto to try and move things quickly. They can use mixers, so we are, I run a mixer, you guys all throw your Bitcoin into me, I shuffle it all up, I turn it all into, Ethereum and Dogecoin and whatever other nonsense, and then you all have separate wallets set up and I send all the money back out the other end into those separate wallets, and it makes it more difficult to figure out, whose funds came from where. It can slow things down a little bit. The chain analysis tools that we have access to do a pretty good job of being able to reconstitute all of that stuff and figuring out which wallets are associated with the same individual user. Some people are super bad at it, which makes it easier. Like I have my my front end wallet and my back end wallet. I want to make sure that things work, so I just send, a penny between them back and forth. That's on the blockchain, so now the software can see like, oh, these wallets are related to each other. A penny went here, a penny went back, and so we can, kind of reasonably assume that they're maintained by the same person. It trades quickly. There's obviously no need to wait for a wire to clear. Potentially anonymous to a point. Most of the smaller businesses that I go talk to, they assume that Bitcoin and crypto is completely anonymous, completely untraceable. That's, we know that's not the truth. It is entirely traceable. That's the point, is the blockchain's public. We can all see who traded what. You just don't necessarily know the long string of characters wallet ID is associated with me. So we can all see where the money goes. It's the actual getting the money out where that anonymity can break down a little bit. But if you're able to, if you're going to change your money into a coin that does not respond at all to legal service or has no know your customer requirements in the country it's based out of, it can make it much more difficult for us to track. Pig butchering, this is named after this Chinese word which means fattening a pig up prior to the slaughter. This is for individuals, this is where fraud is going for us. This is where our huge dollar losses are coming from. So all of these start, which is a scam based on an investment scam, but the victims are contacted by, these nonsense texts that we all get, like, and if you don't just block them and say, oh, this is the wrong number, or if you don't just block them and you respond and say, oh, wrong number, and then, somebody sends you this picture and you're like, oh, all right, well, maybe it's not quite the wrong number, maybe we can have a little conversation here. However the conversation gets started, this was initially mostly through dating apps. It's been a lot more going through LinkedIn, or even if I start on a dating app and you tell me who you are, then I'm leveraging LinkedIn to find out, like, all right, well, do you work at White Castle, or are you the IT director of a bank? Like, all right, if you're working at White Castle, I'm not gonna waste my time with you. If you might have some money, then we're gonna drag this out a little bit. The way the scam works is we're talking, we're chatting, you tell me what you do, I mention, oh, I don't have an actual job, like I just work from home, I do crypto investing, if you ever want to do it, if you're ever interested, let me know. I don't push too hard right then, we circle back around later, and I bring it back up and ultimately convince you to do a little investing. You are hesitant to do it because I know this is a scam, and I'm like, hey, it's not, like, you don't have to send any of your money to me. Here's the app that I use. You're gonna have your own account, download it, create your own account, do whatever you want, and you do. Of course, this is not through, the Play Store or the Apple Store. Like, I've sent you the link for the app that I maintain. So it looks like Bitcoin, or a wallet app, but it's, I run the entire backend server for it. The brilliant twist on this scam is you invest $1,000 with me. Over the course of 2 weeks, you can see on the app that you now have $5,000. You've 5x'd your money in a couple weeks. Phenomenal. The genius behind it is that they will let you withdraw that original $1,000. They will send that back to you, so they're not out any money, you're not out any money, and you still see that you still have $4,000 in your account, in this platform, and then people just turn the spigot on. The last big one of these that they sent us an alert for out of San Francisco, this woman fell for this. She roped in her entire family. After about 1.5 years, they had sent $5.1 million to the fraudsters. On that one, we were super lucky and were able to, they were for some reason slow at moving money. We were able to get back about 4.2, which is not the norm. Most of the time that money is moved very quickly and gone. This is, one of the reasons this can be so successful, especially if you're, coming through a dating app, is, if I'm the guy that's looking for a date, I don't want to seem like I don't know anything about crypto, and, I've seen about it on the news. Some people got super rich, like, this person's telling me it works well. How hard can it be? I don't really understand any of it. Like, I'm the perfect target because I want to impress you and show you how much money I have and how much I'm willing to invest, and then they're able to just, keep bleeding you for more and more. Once people, all of these scams, once people realize it's a scam or start thinking, all right, I'm ready to cash out, that's when the back-end taxes part of the scam can kick in. Like, okay, well, you can withdraw your money, but this app is actually maintained in, Colombia, and you have to pay the Colombia export tax to get your money out, and people just keep feeding more and more money in. SIM swapping, this is, not the actual physical switching of a SIM, obviously, but I have a co-conspirator that works at a network provider. Is one of the ways that this can happen. I'm basically convincing the phone company, hey, I lost my phone, I got a new one, here's my new SIM card, and now I'm getting all of your texts and messages. The main use of this is so that I can, I can beat multi-factor authentication. All of your confirmation codes that are supposed to be texted to you are going to be texted to me instead. We can combat that with using dedicated apps. These are tied to your actual physical device, not to your phone number. So someone actually has to, have your physical device to get these codes. All right, much lower level frauds that we investigate are going to be actual ATM or gas pump skimming. So these are little, these ones on the left are little shims that they just slide right into the credit card slot, and it has all of the magnetic readers in there that are, are going to read your credit card number as you're interacting with the ATM. A lot of those are not going to actually, the machines aren't going to capture your PIN, or they're going to be, obfuscated as it passes through the system. So a lot of criminals also utilize pinhole cameras. So there's a separate recording device that is going to, recording your fingers pushing the buttons on the keypad. There's also entire overlays. So these are literally going to lay right on top of the legitimate point of sale terminal, and it's capturing all of the information. That's going to obviously include the PIN code at that point. Gas pump skimming, these are literally pictures that I took that come out of, that I took out of gas pumps. The black wrapped section there, that's the skimming device. That red plug initially is supposed to go on top of the green board. I just open up the gas pump, pop my device as a bridge between them. All the numbers still flow through. So the gas pump operates as normal. I'm just getting all the information out. Initially, these were just storage devices, which was not ideal for the criminals because they had to go back and actually remove the device to download the information out. Then a lot of them switched to SMS. So they're getting, text messages every time somebody swipes their card. They're getting a text message of the credit card number. That is nice because I don't have to go back. It's also not super ideal because, then there is a phone that is receiving information that has, that is receiving the stolen information. So if I'm able to track that and tie that back down to a person. So a lot of them now are just Bluetooth, so I can still just pull into the gas station lot. I have my laptop there, my buddy goes into the store, buys a drink, I'm downloading all the information off of the device, and then we drive away, and the device is still there and can keep stealing more information. It doesn't help that almost all gas pumps are commonly keyed. So if you get one gas pump key, you can open thousands of gas pumps and put these in there. This guy was super nice. When we did the search warrant on his house, he had a notebook in his house that had a list of all of the addresses and all of the pump numbers that he had installed these on. So I was able to just drive around Indianapolis and take them all out. It was fantastic. He also had thousands of these little stickers. They don't mean anything. I mean, if the seal is broken on it, that's definitely a bad sign. But just because the steel's intact doesn't necessarily mean that everything is copacetic. So to protect ourselves from these, if you can use the ATMs inside of financial institutions or the one closest to a building, that's going to be the ones that are, a little less appealing for the criminal to try and slide something into. It's a little more obvious when they're opening up that machine. A lot of those, point of sale terminal overlays are super crappy. So if things feel loose, probably not great. And, covering your hand when you type your PIN in. Other things we can do to prevent all of these frauds. These are obviously things that you are all super familiar with, but do not click on unknown links. All of these attacks are client-side attacks. We're trying to get the client to, start the attack against themselves. So clicking on links is the easiest way to kick off that chain. Enabling multi-factor authentication, that's obviously not perfect. Those can be phished through that SIM swapping, or if I'm orchestrating a man-in-the-middle attack and you type in your code, you think you're telling it to the bank, but you're actually telling it to me, and then I turn around and tell the code to the bank from my other device. Not perfect, but definitely better than single factor. With email, we're going to monitor our rules. If you're a larger business and want to register similar domains, so I'm going to register, Eor Title is my company. I'm going to register Eor Title with 2 T's in it, or with 2 I's or 2 L's. The I's and the L's are, your brain just squishes those together. So I'm going to register those and just redirect them to my main site, try and cut down that attack surface a little bit. Using forward instead of reply to, if I forward your message back to you, I'm typing your email back in to where I want to send it, as opposed to using the reply to email that comes with the message, which I can set that to be whatever I want. If you use email that is able to show when you log in, or allows you to force other people to log out, these are all entirely normal logins for me. I'm logging in from DC, DC, DC. Oh, okay, well, there's also a login from the United Kingdom, and then some more DC stuff. That UK one's a little suspicious. That's probably not me. For actual larger payments, if you're able to, considering 2 parties to sign off on things, you can reduce your insider threat, where maybe your comptroller's a little dirty and they're sending out money. If you have dual control on that, that can reduce that, and it makes it less likely that just Bill falls victim to the fraud, and then if there's somebody that's backstopping him, that can obviously help. So human error is our biggest weakness. We can have firewalls, encryption, antivirus, and in the other corner we have Dave, who is just going to click on whatever you send to him. That is the point of these speeches that I go out and give, is to try and convince people not to be Dave. Don't click on the links. Unfortunately, it's a game of low-hanging fruit. Like, somebody's always going to click. These frauds perpetuate because they work. So it's just trying to make it not be you is the main thrust of that. We're going to run this is definitely beneath the people in here, but I'm going to show you the little fun game that I play with the people that I go talk to about passwords and the strength of the passwords that they use. This is obviously a terrible idea. Don't write all your passwords down and stick them on Post-its on your monitor. In your business, you should be changing your default passwords. All the devices you get have a default password. Those are easily Googled. You can easily Google them, and a lot of the times you're just going to be able to log into people's systems with that. They compile all the breaches and most people's common passwords, 123456, password, 12345, 1234, to the point that if you used those top 4 passwords, you could get into almost 7% of systems out there. So be smart about your passwords. So now we're going to show how to make a good password. The best way is to randomly generate them. Obviously, there's plenty of apps for that. They all have their own flavors. Most of these, Bitwarden's kind of free across the board. That's the Wirecutter's choice for a free one. Most of the paid ones are going to be, it's free on one device, but then if you want it to sync across multiple devices, you have to pay for that service. So, and then this is you're going to have one master password that you have to remember, and then all of your other passwords can just be a string of random characters, which that's exactly what I do. I have one super long password that I have to remember, and then everything else, every time my son logs out of anything, he's like, all right, well, just tell me the password. And it's like, well, I can't just ramble it off to you because it's going to be, 28 characters of just random garbage. So don't log out of your Steam account anymore. So obviously not ideal, but better than just thinking of your dog's name or your high school mascot. To create a strong password, you can think of your meaningful sentence. I'm in Fort Wayne at the B-Sides conference. We take all the first letters of that, there's our password. Surprise, that's a terrible password, right? 8 lowercase characters, we're gonna crack that super fast. So, all right, so now we're gonna mix in some uppercase and lowercase characters. In this one, I just capitalized all of the letters that are actually capitalized in the original sentence. Still terrible, but orders of magnitude better. All right, so now we're gonna add a number. I was here last year, and this was the 2023 B-Sides conference. Now it's the 2024 B-Sides conference. That's also a terrible pattern to follow, but we're adding some numbers in there. Okay, now we're at 41 years. Now this is officially not a terrible password. It's still not going to comply with, most password requirements, but we're better than nothing. So a note on adding numbers, most people, this Go Colts 24, this has been owned 22 times, 24 Go Colts, obviously they're both terrible passwords, but it's been owned only 2 times. So you can see most people are going to append numbers at the end of their passwords as opposed to prepending them. So if you have one where you're sticking your numbers in the middle, that's even more rare. And this can come in with, password guessing versus password spraying. If I'm going after you, I have to have, you're one user and I have to guess thousands of passwords. But if I know a commonly used password, or if I'm coming into Fort Wayne and I have no idea what the high school is here, the Fighting Knights, I pick some password that deals with knights and I'm attacking people here, I can password spray. So I'm gonna do one password against many people. So I'm going around the table just trying to log in with that same password. It doesn't work. I change my dictionary attack a little bit to change the number, to change the punctuation that's in it, and then I go around the room again and I'm guessing again. The other benefit of that password spraying attack is once I guess 3 wrong passwords on you, I may be locked out of your account. But maybe that only works if it's 3 wrong passwords in 5 minutes. But by the time I get around the room 4 times, that clock has run out and I can keep guessing against everybody's attack. Now we're gonna add some punctuation. I literally just, the @ is now the ampersand and bang on the end. This is, now we're 34,000 years. This is obviously a much stronger password. In the trying not to be predictable world, most people think, well, I have sort of a strange password. It's not going to be in the dictionary because I have some capitalization and I have a number and I have some punctuation. Okay, I'm going to capitalize the first letter. I'm going to put some numbers on the end. Bang. That is the overwhelming majority of how people play these rules, is capitalized in the beginning, regular word, regular characters, numbers on the end, exclamation point. And then, oh, I have to change my password? All right, now it's numbers on the end, ampersand. Now it's numbers on the end, hashtag. Now it's numbers on the end, $, because I'm just going down the keyboard. So, still a better password, but if you're trying to make yourself less hackable, not playing by the normal rules can help you. And then obviously, if you want to have a passphrase, I'm at the 2024 Fort Wayne B-Sides Conference, bang, then we're at 100 tredecillion years, which I had to look up is 44 zeros. Now you're at the level of password that, like, okay, this is the master password for my password keeping app. And that's the kind of strength that you want to have in there so that, people can't just crack your password. That's all I've got. That is the number to our field office. That is the email to all of the members of the Nerd Herd in our office. So if there's 7 people in our office that if you just email to that email address, it goes to all of us and somebody can respond to you. If your business is looking for someone to come out and talk to the people that actually need to hear this information, we're happy to do that. If you are the victim of some sort of breach, we can come help you with that. We are looking at it from a law enforcement side, so we're gonna, be trying to get logs and RAM and things like that. We are not there to tell you the weaknesses of your network or to help you, rebuild it. Or if you are just a mandatory reporter and need to report things, which happens to us all the time, hey, I want to report it, but then legal says I'm not allowed to talk to you anymore. I'm like, okay, we do that too. We'll gather your stats and we'll check your legal compliance box. But we would actually like to, see if we can help you and, throw your information into the pot and see if that, what spider webs that connects with that we can try and build cases against people. Does anybody have any questions about this or any other law enforcement stuff? CISSP questions? Yep. Yes, I literally just passed it on Monday. I had to email my buddy again today, like, hey, you still haven't approved that I've met the requirements. You need to tick this box. He's like, I'm at graduation with my kid. Leave me alone. So yes, I don't know what the old ones look like, and I don't have a new one yet. So, all right, well, work paid for it, so I'll take it. All right, thank you all very much. I appreciate your time.